good afternoon. It's a pleasure for me to welcome you to the second annual Donald A.B. Lindbergh and Donald West King Lecture in Medical Informatics and/or Pathobiology. My name is Jerry Sheehan. I'm the Deputy Director of the National Library of Medicine, and it's my honor and pleasure to be your host here for today's lecture. Before we introduce our esteemed speaker for today, I want to remind you, everyone here, that this endowed lecture was established in 2015 to provide a forum to bring important insights and discussion about the history, the current state, and the future of medical informatics and biopathology to a broad scientific and public audience. And it looks like from the size of the audience we have here today, a number of people who are joining us by video cast that we've achieved at least part of that objective already. It also goes almost without saying, but I'll say it anyway, that today's lecture is named in honor of two esteemed previous NLM staff and eminent figures in medicine and research and in NLM's history. Of course, Dr. Donald A.B. Lindbergh, the former director of the National Library of Medicine, and Dr. Donald West King, who was formerly the Deputy Director for Research and Education at the National Library of Medicine. Both are here with us today. I'm glad to see you both here today, and we'll hear from them later on in the program. This lecture supports the missions of three different organizations that are sponsoring this event: the National Library of Medicine, the Friends of the National Library of Medicine, and the American Medical Informatics Association, or AMIA. And I'm pleased to see a number of members of the Friends in the audience. We have the chairman of the Board of the Friends of the National Library of Medicine, Glenn Campbell, with us here, as well as the president and CEO of AMIA, Dr. Doug Fridsma, who's here with us today as well. I also want to welcome the members of the NLM Board of Regents, who will be meeting over the course of the next 2 days to provide some additional insight and guidance to NLM as we continue on our course towards strategic planning and plotting our own future here at NLM. And of course, I'd like to welcome Dr. Francis Collins, the director of NIH, who is here with us today. Now it's my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Glenn Campbell, who is the chairman of the Friends of the National Library of Medicine, who will make the next introductions. Glenn, thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. It is my pleasure to come up here with a tremendous amount of appreciation and gratitude. Appreciation for all the work that everybody at the National Library of Medicine does, and gratitude to Dr. Lindbergh and Dr. King for sponsoring this lecture series, this important lecture series. I also welcome Dr. Córdova. I look forward to the lecture as well. I'm honored as well to co-sponsor this with the National Library of Medicine and with Doug Fridsma. This lecture series is a very important part of the mission of the Friends of the National Library of Medicine in ensuring greater visibility for the NLM and greater visibility for the work that the NLM is doing to ensure the successful transition of the medical literature as an active player in the improvement of healthcare outcomes and in the improvement of patient care. So I, without further ado, offer my gratitude to Dr. King for the endowment which supports this lecture, to Dr. Lindbergh for the leadership at the National Library of Medicine that inspired AMIA and the Friends and the library to establish this lecture series, and welcome you again. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Glenn, and thanks again to all of the Friends of the National Library of Medicine and to AMIA for their support of this event. I'd like to welcome now to the podium the Director of the National Library of Medicine, Patricia Flatley Brennan, colloquially known as Patty. Please.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Thank you very much. I got to stand here 2 weeks ago and say the proudest thing that I can say is that I am Patty Brennan. I'm the Director of the National Library of Medicine. I'm proud of many things, but importantly the leadership that came from Don Lindbergh before and the ongoing friendships we've had with many associations, including the Friends and the American Medical Informatics Association, whose president, Doug Fridsma, is here with us today. Dr. King, thank you for your inspiration, for your contributions, and for your support of this lecture. But most importantly, I'm here to welcome Dr. France A. Córdova, Dr. Córdova is an astrophysicist. She's the 14th director of the National Science Foundation. She leads a $7.5 billion independent federal agency, the only government agency charged with advancing the fields of scientific discovery, technological innovation, and science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education. Córdova has been a leader in science, engineering, and education for more than 3 decades. She has a distinguished career both in higher education and government. Her contributions to multi-spectrum research on X-ray and gamma ray sources and space-borne instrumentation have been made her an internationally recognized astrophysicist. In addition, she is President Emerita of Purdue University, Chancellor Emerita of University of California, Riverside, and former Vice Chancellor for Research at the University of California, Santa Barbara. She's also served as NASA's chief scientist and is a recipient of that agency's highest honor, the Distinguished Service Medal. Prior to joining NASA, Dr. Córdova was in the astronomy department at Penn State and a deputy group leader at the Los Alamos National Laboratory. She received her BA from Stanford University and her PhD in physics from the California Institute of Technology. Her conversation and remarks today are focusing on computation's impact on biomedicine. This talk will enlighten all of us to the focus that NSF is taking in advancing health for all and supporting, collaborating, and enriching the ability of research around the world to improve health through technology, through science, and through basic inquiry. Dr. Córdova, thank you very much for joining us.
Great, 4 water bottles. This is going to be a very long talk. So, good afternoon, everyone. It's really a pleasure to see you here. And thank you to Dr. Collins for your invitation. Francis and I have been friends for a very, very long time, and I so much appreciate our collaboration, our personal friendship, and the collaboration between our 2 agencies, which I'll be talking a lot about today. And I want to take a moment to recognize also Donald Lindberg and Lindberg-King, who worked together to contribute so much to the field of medical informatics and to the National Library of Medicine. And thank you both for taking the time to be here today. It's much appreciated to be giving a lecture in honor of 2 people who are actually sitting right in front of you. That's unusual. Thank you all for your contributions to science and medical research. This theme of cooperation is the one that I want to focus on today. I've divided my talk into 3 parts. First, NSF and NIH's history and partnership, NSF's contributions to providing foundational knowledge key to biomedicine, and finally, NSF's path toward forward on the frontiers of science and engineering, so you get an idea of what another federal agency, how we're looking at the future as it bears on this topic. But first, I want to show a brief video about the National Science Foundation and its unique role in our nation's science research ecosystem. So if you would let the video roll, please.
This is about discovery,
pushing the edge of the known.
changing the way we live.
Did you ever use a CD, cell phone, barcode, that thing they call the internet?
Maybe a touchscreen, LED lights, a web browser, GPS.
Ever get an MRI, do a Google search, check a weather forecast?
Every one of those things was improved on or made possible by fundamental research supported by the National Science Foundation.
And there's also 3D printing, laser eye surgery, safe for cars.
New biomedical tools, improved disaster preparedness.
Even disease-resistant bees.
Today, NSF supports people and places to develop tomorrow's scientists and engineers.
And create new knowledge in fields from A to Z.
To help us understand our world, solve societal challenges, spur innovation, and improve our lives.
The National Science Foundation supports fundamental research,
Insights,
ideas
breakthroughs,
that ultimately create jobs and help drive our economy
enhance our nation's security.
and advance our knowledge to keep us a global leader.
What really causes economic growth is it's always innovation. So how do we get more of it? We invest in basic research. That's as simple as that.
having seen that video a number of times, I really love that guy. He's got the message straight. So that's a little video that shows the impact that we're very proud of in all fields of science and engineering. Our founding mission is very clear. It is, quote, to promote the progress of science, to advance the health, prosperity, and welfare, and to secure the national defense. And that's a mission we've been true to for these 70 years. This responsibility to focus on basic fundamental research across all fields of science and engineering complements NIH's concentration on biomedical science research that enhances the health of people worldwide. Our two agencies share similarities, including missions that grew out of comparable circumstances. And so a word about that history. As you all know, NIH's early beginnings originated with the Marine Hospital Service in 1887 in a one-room laboratory founded by Joseph Kenyon called the Laboratory of Hygiene. And I was pleased to see his photograph in your main administration building earlier today. After the First World War, chemists wanted to set up an establishment in the private sector that would apply fundamental knowledge in chemistry to the lasting problems of medicine. But after finding no success there, supporters partnered with Louisiana Senator Joseph Ransdell to secure federal sponsorship, which established the present-day NIH in 1930. So 20 years later, along comes NSF. In response to a report by Vannevar Bush, the director of the Office of Scientific Research and Development, during the Second World War. It was in response to a request of President Roosevelt for such a statement of what were the possibilities to retain a science and engineering workforce for peacetime purposes, because they had so successfully contributed to the wartime effort. Bush's report, of course, is famous. It's called Science, the Endless Frontier, and it detailed how government could promote the best ideas from science and engineering research and education for the greater social good, and was the catalyst for what became, about 5 years after his report, the National Science Foundation. Every day, NSF and NIH prove the importance of federal funding in research. Our two agencies resulted from people who believed that applying resourceful thinking to long-standing societal problems would lead to the advancement for our nation. So it's only natural that our agencies would have a long and productive partnership. For instance, since 2013, the joint NSF-NIH Smart and Connected Health Program has accelerated the development and use of innovative approaches to support the transformation of healthcare from reactive and hospital-centered to preventative, proactive, evidence-based, and person-centered. The program involves several of our NSF directorates and numerous NIH institutes. It includes investments in breakthrough ideas in a variety of areas and technology. We've also collaborated on the BRAIN research through Advancing Innovative Neurotechnologies, or BRAIN initiative, bringing the nation closer to a deeper understanding of nervous systems. And we partner on the collaborative research in computational neuroscience solicitation with several international partners. This program provides a theoretical foundation and a rich set of technical approaches for understanding complex neurological systems, building on theory, methods, and the findings of computer science and neuroscience. And more recently, NIH adopted the Innovation Core, or I-Core program that was pioneered by NSF. I-Core is a public-private network of scientists and engineers and business leaders, entrepreneurs, to strengthen our national innovation system and translate discovery to the marketplace much faster. With NIH's participation, this effort is now providing entrepreneurial education to help young biomedical researchers translate their innovations. Pictured in the lower right of the screen is Stephen DiMagno, whose fundamental chemistry research led to new technology for therapeutic medicines. Among the first recipients of an NSF I-Corps grant, he founded a company that manufactures molecules that become imaging agents for managing cancer, cardiac disease, and neurological disorders. So these are just a few of the ways our NSF-NIH collaboration has contributed to scientific discovery. By working together to share data, ideas, and technologies, we can enhance the impact of our investments and better address the grand challenges of our time. Having talked about our shared history and partnership, let me turn next to NSF's contributions to foundational knowledge key to biomedicine. This is something we're very proud of. When it comes to these grand challenges, NSF's motto, "Where discoveries and discoverers begin," affirms our commitment to applying new thinking and new thinkers to unsolved mysteries. Our commitment to funding basic research across all fields has led to some significant medical breakthroughs. And here are a few examples of NSF-funded research with application to biomedicine. For example, NSF provided a substantial part of the basic research infrastructure that scientists drew upon to develop magnetic resonance imaging, or MRI. From 1955 through the 1990s, NSF support for the underlying nuclear magnetic resonance instrumentation amounted to $90 million. And in 1991, MRI pioneer and 2003 Nobel Prize winner Paul Lauterbur received NSF funding to launch the Center for Magnetic Resonance Imaging Technology for basic biological research. Our support translates discoveries revealed by basic research and applies them in specific ways to enhance society. 35 years ago, NSF started the Small Business Innovation Research Program to fund startups with potential for growth. And today, many agencies, just about all of them, including NIH, fund SBIR and its sister program in universities called the Small Business Technology Transfer Program. NSF support through initiatives like SBIR has led to advances in fields like synthetic biology, bioscaffolding, and tissue engineering. This slide illustrates one example. The small business Miromatrix Medical developed technology to create bioengineered organs for human transplant. In this example, a quadriplegic man experiences the sense of touch again. By connecting a robotic arm to a brain-computer interface implanted in his head, he's able to feel pressure on the robotic hand. The blueprint for the robotic arm came from NSF-funded basic research that looked at the neural activity of monkeys as they manipulated objects. This advancement is paving the way for touch-sensitive prosthetics, and is also an example that we give to Congress when it asks why we're sometimes funding research that has that sounds silly in the abstract, funding monkeys to do drawings and things like that. Well, it's led to this very, very important advancement. Presently, our funding is supporting a diverse group of researchers at 4 U.S. universities, plus research institutions in Japan and South Korea, in researching soft robotics, specifically a polymer-based material that twists and moves and senses, unlike traditional robots. This team is aiming to convert the material into artificial muscle, which could be a life-changing discovery for people with disabilities around the world. The groundbreaking discoveries do not stop there. NSF-funded researchers studying how a bacterium's immune system fights off viruses uncovered a powerful gene editing technique, which we all know as CRISPR-Cas9, which acts like a pair of molecular-sized scissors that researchers can wield to snip a segment of DNA. NSF funded the first grant for this research, and NIH has taken it from there. Today, we look to CRISPR as a tool with the potential to fight genetic disorders like ALS and muscular dystrophy, and maybe even prevent vector-borne infectious diseases. So these are just a few examples of recent progress in scientific research, revealing the potential to change lives worldwide in the intersection of our agency with yours. And there are new frontiers to explore. We've been looking at our history, and now let's look to the present and what lies ahead. First, I want to talk about an area that's important to both NSF and NIH communities, data science, which will lead us directly into NSF's 10 big ideas for future investment. Combining computational advances and biomedical research can solve many enduring grand challenges, and data science may be the key to unlocking a transformational future for medicine. The big data revolution is clearly underway. With the rapidly increasing volume, variety, and velocity of data, innovative and fundamental research questions can now be addressed. In addition to some of our data-focused partnerships that I mentioned earlier, NIH and NSF also partner on the Quantitative Approaches to Biomedical Big Data Initiative, an example of NIH's commitment to utilizing computational science to reach the full potential of biomedical research. And NIH and NSF also co-chair an interagency working group on open science. Bioinformatics has substantially increased in importance to medicine. In the past, medicine has not been in a position to take advantage of bioinformatics, but more and more we can see the need and opportunity for collaboration between the data science and health research communities. Combining the science of medicine, the collection and mining of relevant data, and the intuition of the best doctors will revolutionize what medicine can accomplish. Contributing to this promising area, NSF has made significant investments to building software and data infrastructure. We're advancing the capacity of our nation's academic researchers to capture, curate, and make accessible a growing body of increasingly heterogeneous life sciences data. We invest in numerous data curation activities, such as the Protein Data Bank, that is a partnership between NIH and DOE. As the need for data integration and scaling increases, new investment in data portals and aggregators are providing the ability for researchers to link broadly heterogeneous data sources. NSF also invests in research into novel data technologies and methods that will bring enhanced capabilities to this infrastructure. We're funding research that is providing cutting-edge algorithms, data types, visualization approaches, and statistical methods. The research addresses the contemporary challenges that come with increases in the rate, volume, and complexity of the data generated. Data science is an important frontier, a field that needs to be further explored and is ripe for future collaborations between our agencies. So we've seen examples of our investments and their impact and the possibilities that are on the horizon. So where do we go from here? NSF's commitment to advancing the progress of science has led us to identify 10 big ideas for future investment, shown in this slide. These big ideas confront a range of compelling research challenges that are across all fields of science and engineering, from understanding the rules of life, that is how you get from the genome to the phenome, to navigating the warming Arctic, the Arctic that is warming at twice the rate as the rest of the planet, to leading the next quantum revolution, to examining the nature of dark matter and dark energy using, for the first time on planet Earth, novel particle, electromagnetic, and gravitational wave facilities. They also include big process ideas, which would change how we fund and conduct research. I'm going to talk about just 4 of these big ideas that are relevant to the theme of my talk, the impact of computation on biomedicine. The first big idea that I want to highlight is harnessing the data revolution. I mentioned the data revolution earlier, and this big idea is NSF's vision for exploring that emerging frontier. The data deluge poses its own challenge, one that requires a broad national-scale solution with imaginative approaches to data science, to cyber infrastructure, and to policy implications like balancing privacy and openness. Given its history with founding NSFNet, a forerunner to today's internet, and its current portfolio of large facilities generating big data, facilities like large telescopes worldwide, big research vessels, a national ecological observatory, and more. NSF is well positioned to lead and partner with other agencies to execute this initiative. Our vision for harnessing big data can produce substantial benefits for fundamental research across all areas of science, from astrophysics to ecology to earth and atmospheric science to medicine. We envision turning translational data science into reality, allowing researchers to ask and answer fundamentally new questions and generate new knowledge. NSF will also build interdisciplinary teams to accelerate progress, and I'll talk a little bit more about how we're doing that in a few minutes. A crucial part of harnessing big data means developing a comprehensive research cyber infrastructure ecosystem. It also means creating and nurturing a data-capable workforce. We're seeing tremendous changes at our universities in the number of students who want to exploit data science and all it has to offer and create new architectures, and a big demand for new faculty in this area. And we realize our responsibility of developing a workforce to meet that challenge. This big idea brings together and greatly expands NSF's ongoing investments in data science and engineering. Working together with key partnerships with industry and other agencies will help us to radically alter how we conduct scientific research in the future. I want to focus for a minute on machine learning. When I look at what connects all 10 of our big ideas, and that revelation came to me a year after we announced it, I realized that it really is machine learning. It operates on big data and can reveal new things when tempered with wisdom, I might add. Machine learning is the universal connector that interweaves our ideas, and data science is changing the very nature of scientific inquiry. Machine learning has the potential to revolutionize all aspects of science. Because of its importance, NSF, NIH, and fellow science agencies like NIST, DOE, and DoD have a special role in supporting machine learning and artificial intelligence tools in general. And I actually find myself attending more AI conferences than anything else that I attend for this reason, because it just has such tremendous opportunities. We're merely scratching the surface of our understanding of AI, yet the impact in medical research is already evident. Advances in data analytics and machine learning are helping to accurately diagnose illnesses and personalize treatments, pushing us closer to an age where precision medicine is commonplace. Machine learning will allow physicians to efficiently convert significant amounts of data into knowledge and translate that knowledge into solution. So for one example, scientists are using the NSF-supported Blue Waters supercomputer at the University of Illinois to help understand HIV. One of the biggest barriers to creating truly effective therapies to combat the virus is that the exact structure of the HIV capsid is proven elusive, until just recently. Researchers Juan Perea and the late Klaus Schulten at the University of Illinois successfully used the supercomputer to create a detailed molecular map of the HIV capsid, as seen on this slide. This is one of the ways intelligent systems can change medicine, but algorithms are unlikely to completely replace humans. Physicians and scientists will have to learn to work in collaboration with intelligent systems. And that leads me to the next big idea I wanted to share with you, shaping the human technology frontier. Of course, Dr. Collins will recognize this as, I think at Davos they call it the fourth industrial revolution. One of AI's most interesting lessons is that the most efficient way to utilize machines in addressing complex challenges may be to pair them with humans. Using machine learning to process the volumes of big data and latest information will aid in diagnostics and prognosis accuracy, and this will allow doctors to focus on quality time with patients. The belief is that AI will make good doctors even better, influencing more accurate, informed decisions and more precise predictions. The partnership is already proving to be beneficial. A recent study revealed that AI helped to significantly diminish the pathologist error rate in detecting metastatic breast cancer from lymph node biopsies. An AI-based computational system and human pathologists were given images of lymph node cells and asked to determine if the cells were cancerous. The AI-based approach had a 7.5% error rate, while a human pathologist had a 3.5% error rate. But when human and machine collaborated, the error rate was lowered to 0.5%, an 85% reduction in error. That study is only scratching the surface of what humans and technology can collaborate to accomplish. On the screen is Suchi Soria. Dr. Soria and an NSF-funded team of researchers at Johns Hopkins University are using machine learning to analyze large volumes of medical records. Dr. Soria recently developed an AI program integrating data from the health records of more than 16,000 patients. I think that's one for every NIH employee, right? 16,000? To identify 27 factors capable of predicting septic shock. Dr. Soria's work is an example of what we can do when we invest in the future STEM workforce. One of NSF's priority has been to make science more inclusive, because we don't know where the next groundbreaking discovery will come from. We want to increase the participation in science and engineering from our brightest young minds, because our ideas can't reach full potential without talented, well-prepared scientists and engineers at all levels. So includes is the big idea that reflects NSF's belief that how we do research is just as important as what we research, and we must work together to strengthen and diversify the composition of the science and engineering workforce that we'll depend upon for our future innovation. NSF has long been a champion of initiatives to not only improve STEM education, but to broaden participation among those traditionally underrepresented in STEM fields. For example, part of NSF's investment in biomedical or bioinformatics research focuses on growing the next generation of data-aware scientists through a broad spectrum of training programs that target undergraduate to mid-career scientists. But NSF also understands the importance of investing in instructional materials that prominently feature diverse role models that may inspire the scientists and physicians of the next generation. The fourth and last big idea that I want to mention is called convergence, or growing convergent research. Einstein once wrote, quote, "To raise new questions, new possibilities, to regard old problems from a new angle requires creative imagination and marks real advance in science." This is the essence of convergence, a big idea that involves interdisciplinary teams coming together intentionally in novel ways to strategize a research plan that confronts challenges that know no disciplinary boundaries. In fact, the very notion of applying computation to biomedicine is one of different disciplines collaborating for the progress of science. I want to show a brief video that illustrates the real-life impact of bringing together seemingly disparate disciplines for significant medical benefits.
When I first was asked how to redesign the kidney marketplace, I knew a lot about the market, and I knew that the problems were hard. In the United States, there are about 100,000 people waiting for kidney transplants, and thousands of people die each year while waiting. The initial problem in the kidney market was that there were lots of people who would like to give someone a kidney and couldn't give them a kidney. They were healthy enough to give a kidney, but they couldn't give it to the person they loved, and mostly they were sent home. They'd been told, sorry, it's really wonderful that you want to give someone a kidney, but you can't. As an economist, that's not the way an orderly market works. So one of the constraints on the kidney market is you can't offer people money for kidneys. It's against the law just about everywhere. So you can't just choose what you want. There's matching going on. And I realized that, I know something about this. And so I got together with some colleagues and said, let's think how we would trade kidneys. As we started to deal with these particular problems, we realized we needed solutions that were beyond the current theory of the day. So we did a lot of numerical studies on the data, a lot of empirical work, and we discovered some new things. So it turns out that in the United States, we have people who want to give someone a kidney and don't have a particular person in mind. And that's actually important. We've learned how to use them to start chains of transplants where they give to a patient-donor pair, and the donor in that pair gives to someone else, who gives to someone else, who gives to someone else. Long chains of transplants, and that's enormously effective.
There are 123 Nobel Prize winners who have received NSF funding, and one of the 55 Nobel laureates in the economic sciences that we have proudly supported. His example of an economist revolutionizing the way that kidney transplants are managed highlights the value of using new thinking to attack complex problems. NSF has supported cross-disciplinary research for decades in our mission to strengthen the nation through advancing the progress of science. But it turns out that people still criticize the agency for not supporting cross-disciplinary research very well. Because it's just difficult to do that when you have directorates or institutes that have their own missions. So you have to really struggle to do it. And that's why we're turning to a whole new methodology for being able to do this kind of work a lot faster and better to evaluate proposals and get the right kinds of teams of evaluators. Just last month, we announced an $18 million in funding for 12 transdisciplinary research in principles of data science projects. It's called tripods for short. These tripods projects are conducted at 14 institutions in 11 states, aiming to bring together the statistics, mathematics, and theoretical computer science communities to develop the foundations of data science. There are other specific examples that I could point to that embody this concept of convergence. NSF recently awarded a large long-term grant to the UC San Francisco for Center for Cellular Construction, which will be used to study and promote cellular engineering. I visited that center a few months ago. I think some of you know Keith Yamamoto, who's there as a vice chancellor, and proudly showed off what the center was all about, looking at the cell in a very engineered sense. The ultimate goal is to transform the fields of cell biology into a quantitative discipline and use tools from engineering, the physical sciences, and computer science to create computerized machines out of living cells. The future of cellular engineering could lead to new disease-fighting strategies and many more possibilities in areas we can't imagine. When convergence truly works, seemingly unrelated disciplines that may make unconventional partners come together to produce new applications happens. For example, in the aftermath of the launch of the Hubble Space Telescope, which actually was the thing that brought me to NASA as its chief scientist, and discovering its blurred optics, astronomers and cancer researchers had a shared problem. They both needed to pinpoint critical patterns against a cluttered and often blurred background. Radiologists need to search images for microcalcifications as a sign of breast cancer. These images are similar to images of the cosmos that astronomers study. Thanks to funding from an NSF grant, groups of astronomers and radiologists from Johns Hopkins, Georgetown, and the Space Telescope Institute were able to collaborate on new software that today allows radiologists greater ability to scrutinize mammograms for signs of breast cancer. And the field of digital mammography was born from this unusual partnership. As an astrophysicist, I appreciated that this technology also brought more clarity to the first-generation images from Hubble. We've made substantial gains in science and health research, but in order to achieve even greater breakthroughs, it's imperative that we invest in creative approaches like convergence. Having fresh ideas and original processes and investing in state-of-the-art facilities, tools, and software will go a long way towards the health research breakthroughs that we're all eagerly seeking. These partnerships between humans and technology, between disciplines, between agencies, are what the future of innovation depends on. Together, we've supported a lot of high-risk studies that have resulted in indispensable contributions to society. But our potential for discovery is so much higher. These emerging frontiers of science are ripe to be explored, and NSF believes that bringing people and disciplines together is the ideal approach to funding and finding transformative discoveries. Our challenge is to use the collaborations that will help us make the breakthroughs of tomorrow a reality. We can't shy from our commitment to promote the progress of science, our mission. We cannot slow our efforts to empower later generations to shape a brilliant future. NSF and NIH's dedication to science is the root that's kept this nation established as a global leader in science and technology. And tomorrow's scientists and physicians will count on our discoveries to cross the next frontiers of science. Our dedication to discovery is our connection with the future in the spirit of the old proverb, quote, "A society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they shall never sit in." The results of our shared commitment to basic research has brought us to a time of unprecedented capacity for innovation. If we take the opportunity we have in front of us to move science forward by deepening our partnerships and exploring new ways of doing science and imaginative ways to do it, our history, a history of incredible accomplishments, foreshadows a frontier of endless possibilities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and don't go away. I think for those of us who work here at NIH, we like to think that if it has some way of improving health, improving medicine, or our understanding of life science and biological processes, that it must have resulted from NIH-funded research. And you've demonstrated to us, of course, the great value of the research that NSF has funded in this area, which I think heightens the importance of the kinds of collaboration you were discussing. When you start talking about data, harnessing data, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, of course, you get the hearts palpitating here for those of us who work at the National Library of Medicine.
Your heart,
right?
I know.
Mine in particular, where I've already seen, right, a number of the fruits of collaboration with NSF through interagency collaboration. So I welcome, again, that message and that theme and look forward to more opportunities to collaborate. I also want to congratulate you on leaving us time for some discussion and questions from the audience.
Sure.
And just call your attention, since we are webcasting the event, if you're sitting with a microphone, please use your microphone for a question. In the back, I think we have a few microphones set up in the aisles. And for those who are sitting up near the front who don't have a microphone in front of them, I have one in front of you that you can use. So if you can move to the microphones or signal that you'd like to ask a question, maybe while you're doing that, I'll give you an opportunity, maybe in your experience, working at NSF in different agencies, if you have any views on effective mechanisms for getting this collaboration to take place.
Okay.
And I think we can use.
Yeah, I just wanted to step away from the podium a bit, so I'll just step over here. So I think, as I said, we have a lot of partnerships that are ongoing, and the most important thing in these partnerships is the people who have the ideas and get together and then make them happen. Like you have had a partnership with our computational people, right? And open science, open access, open data, and so on. And that's just very important to keep moving that forward. And so, and when I had an opportunity to hire an assistant director for the biosciences, I turned to a person who's a neuroscientist, Jim Olds, Dr. Jim Olds, some of you know him, and asked him to join NSF, which was a real change for our agency because we had other people with other kinds of backgrounds leading, but not anyone who was so well connected with NIH. So it just really depends on wanting to do it and getting the right people together to explore how we can collaborate. I'm just convinced in agency reform gives us another opportunity, right, to take down some barriers. Because it's all about the people we fund, it's not about us. So we need to come together to identify where we have inhibitors, some of which we've built up ourselves, create self-inflicted obstacles, and take those down to provide more opportunities for researchers to access the funding that we can offer and come up with these brilliant ideas.
Yes, lately AI has also received some pretty negative connotations from astrophysicists and inventors. They say some very important people have said it's an existential threat. So what do you say to them?
I say, as I would confront any existential threat, that if it's going to happen, that I want to be sure I know everything about it, and I'm right there, okay? I mean, there's just so much progress being made on so many different fronts in AI, and as you know, other countries are right there, and they have their best and brightest on it. And so it really behooves us to extract the most that we can from the tools that can be offered by all kinds of forms of artificial intelligence. Is a very broad thing, machine learning, deep learning, just parts of it, and really see how that can lead us to be more innovative and more prosperous and everything. That said, I just came back from attending a roundtable at Aspen where the theme, the dark cloud was hanging over us as well as the bright cloud. And there are a lot of challenges, but it's time to, with any challenge and technology, I don't think there's been a technology, I mean, look at CRISPR that we mentioned before, genetically modified foods. I mean, just anything, any technology that's created has a bright side and a potential dark side. I really commend those universities that have institutes where students learn not only the biomedicine, but they also learn about what are the societal implications of the nanotechnology or the biomedical or the informatics that I am involved in. And so that at a young early age, they can be inspired to be able to meet all the challenges that technology offers.
Turn this microphone on from the chairwoman of our Board of Regents.
Thank you. I'm Esther Sternberg. I'm the chair of the National Library of Medicine Board of Regents, and I wanted to address that question because NLM is really a leader, a pioneer in addressing complex societal concerns through their exhibition program, which has now morphed into a web-based traveling program, but through, for example, the Frankenstein exhibit. It dealt with the societal concerns of cloning. We looked at the concerns about electricity with Frankenstein, which evolved to resuscitation equipment and so on. So I just wanted to point out the leadership, and through Don Lindberg and all of the staff at the National Library of Medicine. We may have collaborated at some point with NSF on some of these exhibitions, but it's really important to address these issues in a publicly engaging way to take the fear out of science.
Yeah, I completely agree. But that's our responsibility for moving forward the progress of science. It comes with, with understanding not only the technology, but understanding its broader implications.
France, really nice talk. One of the major roles that NSF plays for the whole nation, and by extension the whole world, is the training, the STEM education, which has been such a strong area of success and support, and which we very much share with you some of that responsibility. I know you met with John Lorsch earlier today, and I'm sure you must have talked a bit about that. It's fair to say, though, that as far as the diversity of our workforce, we still have a ways to go. That despite efforts over years, decades, to try to recruit and retain people from underrepresented groups, we've only been marginally successful in many of those programs. And it then causes us to sort of look and say, okay, what have we learned from the programs that we have invested in terms of what has worked and what has not worked? Do you have comments to make about that as we are now trying to go forward in an even more energized way and create a workforce that really looks like our country? What have we learned from what we've already tried that might inform what we're going to do next?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's such a big, important question, and actually it was when I came to NSF 3.5 years ago, was the first question on my mind, because I came out of the space sciences, a different agency, and was more broadly in all of our educational investments too, what have we learned and what are the best practices and how do we access it? And it frankly is also the question I'm most frequently asked in congressional hearings, just exactly your question. And so there's two responses I have. One is that researchers, it doesn't matter if they're medical researchers or astrophysicists or educational researchers, we've had a tradition in our country of hoarding research results. And it was actually Bruce Alberts, who's on one of our advisory committees. We have an advisory committee for every director. He's on our education advisory committee. Those of you who know Bruce knows this is a passion for him, that kind of first pointed this out, that people were not really, they were using results for advancement and promotions and all that, but they weren't putting it in a publicly accessible place. And I know Jerry feels very strongly about that. And so that's one of the goals that we have, is that we just have to change that culture and be able to share things more widely. I'm reading a book that I heartily recommend to all of you now. It's Jeffrey West's book called Scale, and it's how societies scale in every dimension. It has huge implications for this subject, but for all subjects. He was the former head of the Santa Fe Institute, a brilliant think tank on complex adaptive learning, and it's how you scale knowledge by networking, and we just have not been very good at networking knowledge. So that's one thing we're trying to do through our Includes program. So I mentioned Includes is one of our 10 big ideas. It's one of our process ideas, and we're doing it differently than we previously funded research. We are now funding. We're funding 40 pilot programs through today, when we announced 27 more. So almost 70 pilot programs around the nation. They're to do a variety of things in broadening participation. They're all community-centered in that they have many partners. It's not just a university, but it's often a whole community of business and industry and NGO-type organizations and so forth coming together, community colleges, et cetera, all over the country. And those are all going to be networked together in alliances, and then we're going to form a backbone that will be a network of networks to share this knowledge. So that's an experiment we're trying to do, because what we have to do to broaden participation is to scale it beyond individual, wonderful little efforts. And then we have groups where we're actually also forming a network of all these. There are so many private agencies that want to fund this effort, which is just amazing and delightful, but a lot of them haven't heard of each other. So we're meeting with all of them, and we're trying to form a network of them. And one of them wants to do something that I've envisioned for NSF, and now I'm thinking maybe it doesn't belong in a federal agency, maybe it belongs outside where we all can support it. And that's to have a repository of best practices, one that's evaluated and assessed and has a really good board that is always looking at it, but that has, huge web presence, is all open to people, because it's all about getting the knowledge out of what worked and what didn't work, giving people who don't have the opportunity to have a grant or something to be able to scale their own efforts based on this knowledge. So it's a huge problem, Francis, and we would really like to collaborate with NIH on some of the things that we're doing. We'd like to see your experiments, but I think this has really caught on, as I said, because when you get the private sector really involved and engaged in this question, and together with our public sector, I think that's a good recipe.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more question. Somebody's been waiting patiently at the microphone in the back of the room. Let's take that question, please.
Yeah, going off of what you just said, which is really great to hear about more of an open access approach to some things and more collaboration. I'm part of a group called the Science Innovation Union, which kind of addresses this issue of that a lot of young people have, where they're kind of disenfranchised with academia, especially funding. So you mentioned some restructuring that's going on at NSF for grant reviews and stuff like that, but I just wonder if you had any kind of plans to tackle this issue of younger scientists leaving science, not just academia, but science in general?
Well, that's a really big thing that actually on the Hill they might be able to help out with. There's nothing that a little more funding wouldn't help with. Our budget at NSF has been really flat for a very long time. And so it's a struggle, because on one hand we're trying to broaden participation and get people more engaged in science, and then on the other we don't have more to offer in the way of investing in them. We're trying to be creative, especially through partnerships, and this goes way beyond interagency partnerships, but we're trying to develop some really deep partnerships with the private sectors. We've been very, very successful in the computer realm, actually, with some companies matching equal amounts of investments, which is kind of unheard of in other sectors. And so that's a way to leverage the dollars. But I think in order, we've got lots of brilliant programs. You guys have lots of brilliant, everywhere I go they say you should have a postdoc program like NIH has, and they should have a graduate program like you have. And so, I mean, between us we have lots of wonderful programs for young emerging scholars. But in the end it's limited by the amount of investment that we have, and in order to capture the imagination and the commitment of young people, we're going to have to give them some wherewithal to get their careers started, right? Okay, thank you for all those great questions.
Very true. Well, thank you for indulging us in the questions and your very helpful responses. We have one more item to take care of before we can go away, which is, and please don't you run away, because this lectureship does also come with an award. And I want to call up to the podium the two gentlemen after whom the award is named, Dr. Donald Lindberg and Dr. King. And maybe if we can all step over to the center here. The award is this beautifully engraved Waterford crystal bowl and plaque that you can bring back. That you can bring back with you to the National Science Foundation, and I'll give our namesakes the microphone.
Thank you so much for the talk. It's really beautifully put together, and you have a great vision.
Thank you.
I have to say I worked very happily with National Science Foundation when I was director of the High Performance Computer and Communications Program. NSF was one of the major founders of that program and the source of ideas. We let BOD come up with some of the money, of course. And the working together with the agencies is a very important thing, and I certainly thank you for pushing that idea as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, I thought it was a great talk. The enormity of the information, but the complexity is overwhelming. And if you just take one or two of those things that you put forth, you have a little knowledge in some areas, but most of us haven't got that broad aspect. I noticed when you talked about the imaging for breast, the fact of the matter is that both breast and prostate are overdiagnosed and overtreated. And if you have a better method of detecting small numbers of breast, you're going to increase that problem. And the same thing on the Roth diagram that was so great for kidney distribution. Over 220,000 people are on kidney dialysis, only 18,000 transplants. So you have a whole behavioral problem that goes with the science. And so, but that was a wonderful talk, and we much appreciate your coming.
Okay, thank you again, Dr. Córdova, for your remarks today. Maybe one more round of applause for Dr. Córdova. Thank you.